The associative property states that if you're adding three consecutive numbers, let's call them A, B, and C, you can first add A plus B, and to that result you can add later C, or you can add first B plus C and later add the A, and you're gonna get the result, the same result on both cases. This is true for addition, so let's see if it's also true for subtraction, multiplication, and for division. As I said before, the associative property is true for addition. Let's see this little example with numbers. I have x plus y plus c. X equals 3, y equals 5, and c equals 1. Now on this side, I'm going to first add 3 plus 5, and then later add the 1. On this side, I'm going to first add 5 plus 1, and later I'm going to add the number 3. 3 plus 5 equals 8. So on this side, now I have 8 plus 1. On this side, 6 plus 1 equals 6. So I have 3 plus 6. And 8 plus 1 equals 9. And 3 plus 6 also equals 9. So you can see here, doesn't matter which two numbers I choose to add first and which one I choose to add later, the result is going to be the same. The associative property applies to addition. It's always true for addition. But let's see what happens with subtraction. Subtraction is not associative. Depending on which two numbers I choose to subtract first and which one I choose to subtract later out of the three, I'm gonna get a different result. Here, if I subtract first 3 minus 5 and later I subtract the 1, I get that 3 minus 5 equals negative 2, and then negative 2 minus negative 1 is negative 3. On the other hand, 5 minus 1 equals 4. So then I have 3 minus 4, which is negative 1. So be very careful with subtraction. If you're subtracting three consecutive numbers, depending on which two ones you choose to subtract first, the result is going to be different. And as we said before, subtraction does not follow the associative property. The associative property is not true for subtraction. Changing the order of the operation, changing the order of which number you subtract first, is going to change your final result. Now, if the associative property is true for multiplication, and I am multiplying three consecutive numbers, it should be the same or equal if I multiply first x times y and later multiply c, or if I first multiply y and c and later multiply the x. For example, on this side, I have 3 multiplied by 5 and then all of that multiplied by 2. 3 times 5 is 15. Multiplied by 2 equals 30. On the other hand, we chose on this side to multiply first 5 times 2 and later multiply that by 3. 5 times 2 equals 10. 10 multiplied by 3 is also 30. So multiplication follows the associative property. It is always true for multiplication. If you're multiplying three numbers, doesn't matter which two you select to multiply first and which one you leave to multiply later, the result is gonna be the same. If you want to check this out, try multiplying 3 times 2, and whatever you get of that result, then multiply it by 5. If the associative property is correct, then you should get the same result as I did if you multiply first 3 times 2 and then multiply that by 5. Now division, you have to be very careful because division does not follow the associative property. If you first divide x by y and that result then is divided by c, you're not gonna get the same value, the same result, if you first get x and that is divided by the result of y divided by c. Let's do it with numbers so we can see it more clearly. I have 3 divided by 5 and all of that divided by 2. 3 divided by 5 equals 0.6, and 0.6 divided by 2 is 0.3. On the other side, I have 3 divided by 5 over 2. 3 divided by 5 over 2 is the same thing as 3 divided by 2.5. And 3 divided by 2.5 equals 1.2. So as we can see here, if we change the order of the operation, if we change which numbers we decide to divide first and which one we decide to divide later, we will get different results. This result in fraction form is 3 divided by 10, and the other one, 1.2, is 6 over 5, or 6/5. If you want to see it in the analogy of using pizzas, you can clearly see that it is not the same to have one pizza with 3 slices out of a possible 10, or to have 6 over 5, which means pizzas divided into 5 equal parts, and I have 6 of those slices. Or what is the same thing, I have one full pizza and another slice from another pizza. Now to recap, the associative property states that if you're adding or multiplying 3 consecutive numbers, changing the location of the parentheses, which is the same thing as changing the order of the operation, will not affect your final result. For example, in addition, you can choose to add first x plus y and later c, or add first y plus c and later add the x, and you will get the same result. Similarly happens with multiplications. Now be careful, the associative property is not true, does not apply to subtraction, and does not apply to division. In subtraction and division, changing the order of the operation will change your final result. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you found this useful, please subscribe, tell a friend, and don't forget to check some of my other videos and the playlist. Once again, thank you, and see you on the next video.